It's time to prune hydrangeas and roses. Join me today in the garden. Hey guys, welcome back to Horticulture Geek. Thanks so much for joining me today here in the garden. I'm Ray, and we are here in my garden. And as I just said, today we are going to be working on pruning some hydrangeas. And you can see there's one right back there, and some roses. As I have been saying in several of my videos, we are in the month of February, and February is a very busy garden month, especially for those of us in the South. Now, I'm in Arkansas, Central Arkansas, in Zone 7B, 8A. So you may not be quite ready to do these things yet, but I'm pretty sure most people, at least here in the United States, are ready to do these things. So today I'm just going to walk us through how I prune a hydrangea and how and why we prune our roses. So let's get right into today's project. All right, so here we are at our first project today, and this is a little lime hydrangea. And we are going to do a prune on this. You can see it still has all of its spent blooms from last year. It is time for those to come off. And we want to do a basic cleanup prune on our hydrangeas today. Now, there are several different types of hydrangeas. You've got hydrangeas that bloom on old wood, hydrangeas that bloom on new wood, and hydrangeas that bloom on both. This is a hydrangea that will bloom on new wood. And so it is okay for me to prune this. If you have a hydrangea like a standard macrophylla, want to think the hydrangea that your grandparents had in their yard, they get huge, they put out big, huge panicle blooms. Those are old-fashioned hydrangeas. Those bloom on old wood. So if you were going to prune that hydrangea, it's actually best to prune it right after it blooms. So you will go ahead and take those blooms off the plant and then size control it at that point. If I was going to, I would not want to prune a macrophylla or an old-fashioned hydrangea right now. Because if you were to prune an old hydrangea like this one, you're going to be cutting off all your blooms. And so you're not going to have any blooms for the upcoming season. And I have one of those over here, and we'll look at that in a minute. So this is how we're going to prune this hydrangea, and this is a newer hydrangea. It blooms on new wood, so it is perfectly fine to prune it right now. And it's actually encouraged because we want to get rid of some of that old wood, correct some of its habits that have gone awry, we don't like, and then make way for the new growth and the new blooms this season. So when we prune a hydrangea like this, we want to take off the flower heads first, but we want to do that at a node where new growth will come, and we want to do it about 2 to 3 nodes down from the original bloom. So let me just sacrifice a bloom here. So there is my bloom, and if I get in there, you can see a node there, a node there, and a node there. These are growth points, so leaves and branches will come off of those growth points. So we're going to come in and make a cut right above, so where you can see that, right above that node. And then this is spent trash, compost pile, whatever you need to do with it. So, and that's exactly what we're going to do on this hydrangea. So we're just going to come in, we're going to count back a couple of nodes, find a good healthy node, trim it off right up next to those nodes. So here we go, let's tackle that. Okay, so now then I have all of the old spent blooms off. So now we're going to look at our 4Ds, just like we would with any prune job with any shrub. We want to look for anything that's dead, dying, diseased, or damaged. Okay, we want to get all of that old mess out of our plant. And then from that point, we're just going to look at the overall shape of our plant. Do we have branches that have shot out and going a direction that makes the plant look off balance or lopsided, or maybe it's touching a fence or a building? We want to prune away from structures. We just want to create an overall shape that's pleasing to us in our garden. And if yours doesn't need any of that, then don't feel the need to touch it, okay? So if you don't need to, don't. But if it does have some weird, crazy growth, then now's our time to get that. So we're just gonna search the plant for that. We also wanna make sure that we leave good airflow through this plant. Now, let me take this camera off the stand and let's get in here for a close-up look. Okay, so here is this hydrangea. And one of the things right off the bat you can see is this plant is on the corner of my patio. And I've got some branches that are reaching into the patio. Not ideal for my situation. So I'm gonna come in and course correct this. So I'm actually gonna come into here and I'm gonna snip that plant right there. And then I've got this branch, but it's starting to come to the patio as well. So I'm gonna come back to this node right here and clip. And that's gonna encourage this plant to grow. Now then, if you look here into the interior of the plant, I've got this branch here, which is going backwards and touching this branch here. That is not healthy, so I need to get that out of there. So let's just get that whole branch out. And we have opened up that plant to create a more pleasing canopy. Here is a branch that has originated off the back and has curved up through this branch. So this is a candidate for a branch to come out. Again here, this branch is coming onto the patio. You can see this is where I trimmed it last year. So we are gonna trim it again this year. I'm gonna come back to right there. So you get the goal here is to just clean it up a little bit. Now we don't want to remove too much of the plant. We just want to clean it up and instill some good growing habits onto this plant so that it can be as successful and beautiful this year as possible. All right, so this hydrangea is pruned and ready to go. I've got a little pile of debris to pick up and get out of here. But now this plant is ready to flush new growth this spring as soon as conditions are favorable, and it's going to have nice airflow around all of its branches. There's nothing dead, diseased, or in there that the plant is trying to send energy to that's never gonna go anywhere. And I have taken out some branches that were just growing a little wonky. And then I've brought the whole thing down. What that's gonna do for me is this growing season, when it starts to flush, the plant's gonna put out a nice uniform canopy, and then it's gonna set its flower buds, and it's gonna encourage multiple flower blooms to coming on this plant. So it should hopefully work really well to be a beautiful plant this spring. Let's move on to a rose and let's look at how to do that. All right, so here we are at one of my roses. Now, roses for us here, again, 7B, 8A, are already starting to fully bud up and emerge their buds and their leaves for the season. So it is imperative that we get in here and give this plant some attention very quickly. The first thing I'm going to do on this rose is I'm going to remove any of the leaves that are still hanging on from last year. Roses have a semi-persistent leaf. They want to hang on. We've had some good heavy winds this winter. It has knocked some of them off, but I still have pockets of leaves on this rose from last year. Those leaves are harboring fungal and viral things from last year. Black spot, mildews, all of those things are harboring over on these old leaves. I've got to get them off, then we're going to prune, and then we're going to treat this rose. So here we go. Clean pruners. Okay, so this rose was pretty simple in that regards. Your rose, especially if it's a landscape shrub type rose, they are very persistent. So you may have more leaves to clean up on your rose. So varieties are different, and there are hundreds of varieties of roses, but you really do want to go ahead and completely defoliate your rose plant so that then you can treat it and hopefully prevent ongoing issues into the new growing season. Once I've done that, this rose is going to be like any other prune job: dead, diseased, dying, or damaged, and size control. We only want to bring a rose down a third-ish in height. I'll keep this one pretty tall. I like it to be a substantial shrub here, but I've got a dead branch right here. I know it's hard for you to see where you're at, but I'm just going to go ahead and nip it off. So roses are actually very easy to tell because their branches, when they die, they desiccate. So they get dry and crusty and crunchy, and they just like a brown out. Whereas a normal rose cane is red tinged or green tinged or a mix of the both. You can clearly see dead branches on roses. And it is completely natural for roses to sacrifice canes every growing season. A branch is called a cane. So when you look at your rose and you see multiple dead branches, don't panic. That doesn't mean your plant is dying or has trouble. They do that. They will sacrifice canes here, there, and yonder, and new canes will come up in their place. So that's okay, but we just want to get all of that out, again, because we don't know what pathogens are going to try to harbor over in this dead wood to reinfect my new growth this year. So anything dead, get it out of there. And then we're also going to be taking out, like at the hydrangea, anything that's crossing around. Now, one of the most important things for a rose plant is airflow, because one of the biggest things roses battle is powdery mildew, black spot, all of those fungal type issues. Good airflow prevents funguses from attacking your roses, or helps prevent those funguses from attacking your roses. So you want to make sure that your plant has good airflow. We don't want a plant that is so full and so thick that when the leaves are in, the breeze can't get into this plant. It can't deliver a nice clean airflow through your plant. You want to keep your roses kind of thinned out, unless it is a landscape shrub rose, in which case it's bred to be a small, very tight, compact plant. Even then, you want to clean it up a little bit and allow for as much airflow as possible while maintaining a nice shrub look. But in a rose like this, which is a traditional English type or rose, you know, it doesn't have to look like a bush. It just needs to look like a rose plant. So coming in, and don't be scared to be aggressive. Get out those branches that are crossing, competing, rubbing, touching. You know, if it's in the way and it's going to prevent air and movement, get it out of there. All right, and I do apologize for the wind. Hopefully it's not too much on the audio, but you can see now I have brought its height down a little bit. I have got in there and cleaned out all the dead, all the cross branches. I've made some pruning cuts to thin it out and to control its direction. So like, let's look at an example of a cut I made right here. So this branch was taken off this way, but I kind of have a hole right through here. So I want to encourage this branch to keep on coming that way. Same here, I've cut it right below a node that is pointing the direction that I want it to go. So those types of cuts will help. But overall, this plant has plenty of airflow. And when it puts on its leaves, when it gets its foliage, it still should have plenty of nice airflow, and it is ready to go. Now all we have to do is treat this plant for any potential problems. So let's do that. Okay, so now I'm ready to treat this rose, and I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be using a copper fungicide. This is a Captain Jack's copper fungicide. Or you can also use like a neem oil product. Now, this rose here that I have doesn't really have a pest issue like aphids or bugs. It does, however, have black spot, powdery mildew, those types of things. These products are both work. These are the exact same products we use on fruit trees, so we can use them here. They are labeled for roses, and you do want to treat them now in the spring. Spring growth is emerging, and you can retreat every 7 to 10 days or per label instructions of whatever product you buy to keep your problems under control. If you don't have a severe problem, you may not need to treat that much, but you just want to keep a check on your plants. Now, any of the copper-based products, you do have the risk of running, of leaving some copper residue on your roses, and that will show up as purple spots. That's okay. That just means you need to back off treatment of your copper, right? Okay, and you can, like I said, you can interchange these products, use them at the same time. Now, if you're using a neem oil or a pesticidal product like this, we want to do it when our good beneficial bugs aren't active. So if you have aphids or problems like that, white flies, that kind of thing, and you feel like you need to use a neem oil, and the neem oil will also help some of the black rust problems, black molds, whatever as well. But you want to do that at a time that you're not going to accidentally spray any of our beneficials, bees, things like that, which are out and moving on these warm days, even here in February. So be careful if you're using a pesticidal product. Use whatever works for you. Just be careful and note what time of day you're using that product. But treatment of this is super simple. I'm just going to go with the copper fungicide today. So you literally just want to give your plant a good thorough spray of the copper fungicide. Make sure you're dousing it upside, downside, all those things. Here we go. One additional item I did want to mention with roses is your roses are going to form a crown, and you can see there's a little bit of leaf debris in mine, but it's not bad. If you have a rose that has put out or developed a very thick crown, and you have a lot of leaves and debris and mess gathered in your crown of your plant, that is where a lot of your rose pests and things will winter over. So make sure that you get in there and carefully with thorns and just get all that mess out, clean it up, and then get your sprays and stuff down there on the crown of your plant as well. All right, and as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is a standard Hydrangea macrophylla, an old style hydrangea, your grandma's hydrangea. So this is what it looks like. And again, this is one that I do not want to prune right now. As you can see, I've got buds all over this thing. These hydrangeas have got their flower buds set. They've got their leaf set. It is all ready to go. The only thing I would do to this one at this point is, if you're in a situation like me, you can see mine sticks out over the driveway here. If I need to prune a few of these branches off just to give some relief from the spillage over onto my driveway or a sidewalk or up against a home or building, I could do that. But I don't want to come in and just completely cut this plant back. If you cut a hydrangea like this completely back that blooms on old wood, you will have nothing but leaves and fresh branches this year, no flowers. It's not going to do anything for you other than put out new branches, new leaves, and then it'll try to set flower buds for next year. But if you do look in a plant like this, like right here is a dead branch, and you can kind of see the difference. Nice, light, woody color, pale, grayed out, crispy, crunchy. That's got to come out. And there's another one right back there. Okay, so we just want to look for anything dead, and we can get that out. But other than that, these hydrangeas, you leave them alone right now. All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for this video today here in the Horticulture Geek Gardens. So we've got our hydrangeas tackled. We've got our roses tackled. Those plants are ready to go for the 2024 growing season. And I hope this has been informative and beneficial for you. I still have fruit trees to do. I'll do that in a separate video. And I've got some other videos coming up as well. So stay tuned to Horticulture Geek. But today for this video, if you have any tips, tricks, advice, things that work well for you. Maybe you're in a different growing zone. Maybe you live in colder climates. If you do things a little differently, throw them down in the comments. That way people watching this video can get a broader wealth of knowledge than what I can provide here out of my 7B 8A Central Arkansas information. But whenever the right time is for you to do these things, the processes are the same no matter where you're at. So just make sure you're getting those dead, diseased, dying, and damaged out. You're treating those plants for cleaning them up for any potential fungal, pesticidal issues. You're only pruning things that are ready to be pruned, and you're not pruning things that aren't ready to be pruned. So you got to be very careful. And if you are not an experienced enough gardener to know the difference, I guarantee you, if you look around your community, go to a local garden center, join a garden club, you will find people that know and can help you. Ask a neighbor. You're gonna find people that know these things. Because I understand it is difficult. If you are a novice or a beginner gardener, you're looking at a hydrangea and thinking, well, it's a hydrangea. I have no idea if it's a macrophylla or an old wood bloomer or a new wood bloomer. And I get it. And those things can be confusing. And that knowledge comes with time. So take your time. Ask people around you, watching these videos and growing your knowledge. That is a wonderful thing to do right now in February. So make sure you're going out into your yard, looking at the things that you think you need to do. And if you're just not sure, ask somebody local to you. That's the best advice I can give you. But like I said, I hope this video has been super informative and helpful to you. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, please give me that thumbs up. It really does help me. It helps the algorithms to help these videos get shared to others. And maybe we'll find other people out there that enjoy this content as well. So I hope you have enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to leave those questions and comments down below. But until next time, from my garden to yours, I wish you all the best and happy gardening.